Welcome to Land of the Bible. I'm David Sussman, your personal tour guide here in the land of Israel. And in today's episode, we are going to explore some of the various museums located here in the capital city of Israel, Jerusalem. One cannot mention museums of Jerusalem without first coming to Israel's most iconic museum, the Israel Museum, located right in the heart of Jerusalem in the Givat Ram neighborhood. Just across from the museum is Israel's parliament, the Knesset. And the reason why Israel chose to put the museum here across from the Knesset is because we understand the importance of knowing your history, heritage, and connection to your land in order to plan for a brighter future. The museum itself was built in 1965 and was designed by the notable Israeli architect Alfred Mansfeld, who designed it to look similar to a typical Mediterranean seaside village. It ascends, going from one section to the next, almost as though you are also ascending in awareness of one's history and connection, as I said, to the land of Israel. The museum is visited by so many different types of people. Tourists coming from abroad, school groups from here in Israel, even the army brings some of their soldiers here in order to delve into our shared history of this land. In fact, the most visited section in the entire museum is the archaeological wing, which focuses on the biblical period, giving evidence to the historical accuracy of our Bible. But there's much more to the museum than archaeology. In fact, it also focuses on art and culture, both from here in Israel as well as abroad. The next most visited section is the area dedicated to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Let's go there now. Housed in its own section of the museum is the Shrine of the Book, dedicated to the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in 1947 by a young Bedouin who was tending to his sheep. Unbeknownst to him, he had discovered one of the greatest archaeological finds of the 20th century, because it was these finds that prove that the Bible we read today is the same Bible we read as far back as 3,000 years ago. Behind me, you can see the conical-shaped building that is reminiscent of the vessels that the scrolls were found in. Over here to this side, you can see a black structure. The black and the white depicts the dualistic society in which the Essene community who was living in Qumran, writing these scrolls, lived by. They believed in the imminent battle of good versus evil, the sons of darkness against the sons of light. Inside the Shrine of the Book are actual sections of the scrolls that were found, biblical scrolls, community scrolls that discuss the laws on which they live by, you also have a very interesting scroll that gives their interpretation of what the third temple will look like when it's rebuilt right here in Jerusalem. Inside, you also have some of the relics that were discovered during the excavations that took place in Qumran. Some of those highlights are the first known pair of phylacteries, which is known in Hebrew as tefillin. You also have their ancient calendar, which remarkably is totally different than the calendar we use today. One of the highlights here in the Israel Museum is a model of Jerusalem during the Second Temple period. One can see the walls of the ancient city and locate the precise location in which the Romans breached the city walls on the 17th day of the Hebrew month of Tammuz. They can see the temple in which Herod had built, the entire Temple Mount complex, and even the Western Wall where people go to pray to this very day. Of course, that temple was destroyed by the Romans on the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av. We can see King Herod's palace and the Tower of David, which still stands today. In ancient times, it stood 70 meters high, and it is believed that from its top, you could see both the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean Sea from the same location. You can see ancient Jerusalem, known as the City of David, the Gihon Spring, Hezekiah's tunnel, which diverted the waters to the Shiloach Pool. It was from here, the Shiloach Pool, that pilgrims visiting Jerusalem during the three major holidays of Sukkot, Passover, and Shavuot, known as Pentecost in English, would have gone to Shiloach's pool to ritually purify themselves and then head up a massive stair corridor to the temple itself. In fact, the double gates which they would have entered are still visible today from the southern wall excavations. This model is an incredible way to truly understand Jerusalem during the end of the Second Temple period. Let's continue as we explore more of museums here in Jerusalem.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
Yad Vashem is Israel's official memorial and museum to the victims of the Holocaust. It is dedicated to preserving the memory of the dead, honoring Jews who fought against their Nazi oppressors, and to the non-Jews who selflessly aided Jews in need. The memorial today consists of a 45-acre complex containing the Holocaust History Museum memorial sites, such as the Children's Memorial and the Hall of Remembrance, the Museum of Holocaust Art, Sculptures, and an outdoor commemorative site known as the Valley of the Communities. The Valley of the Communities is a massive 2.5-acre monument, literally dug out of the natural bedrock. Over 5,000 names of communities are engraved on the stone walls. Each name recalls a Jewish community which existed for hundreds of years. For the inhabitants, each community constituted an entire world. Today, in most cases, nothing remains but the name itself. Let's now explore some of the Yad Vashem Holocaust Remembrance Center and Museum. We have the great privilege today on Land of the Bible of being joined by the Senior Guiding Coordinator, Avia Doron, who will be taking us through the museum here at Yad Vashem. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Let's start our tour.
Let's go.
And I'd like to tell you a story of one of the photographs we have here, which is this one over here. This photograph was, let's say, recognized by a woman named Lucia Schimmel. It's very important to us in Yad Vashem to try and recognize as many of the artifacts and the stories behind the stories in the museum. And when Lucia came to Yad Vashem, she started looking through different photographs of people who were sent to this camp. And when she saw this one, she got very pale and sort of went into shock. And the reason for it is because she's the woman in the photograph.
Whoa.
Well, apparently Lucia had a childhood friend. His name was Yaakov Noach Lev, and the families were very close and they would go together on vacation. And this is what you see in the photograph, Lucia and Yaakov in one of these old vacation resorts, solving a crossword puzzle. And Lucia, when she saw this photograph, immediately asked us what else is left of Yaakov. And you also see this artifact, which is a document of acceptance into medical school. 1938, Yaakov applies into medical school in Bern, is accepted. But 1939, war breaks out, and nobody's going abroad to study medicine. And yet, when they find his body 4, 5, 6 years later, he's still carrying this document on him, because he still has the hope or the belief that one day, life will go back to normal, and he'll be able to pick up where he left behind. And I think this perhaps wraps up not only this exhibit, but the entire museum, that we don't want to talk about these big black and white photos. We want to talk about the individual story, because talking about these photographs, it's nothing I can really identify with. I want to talk about the individual, to give this person their identity back in return. And this is what we'll try and do throughout this museum.
Many people don't realize that here at Yad Vashem there's an extraordinary art museum. We're joined now by Eliad Mora Rosenberg, who's the curator and director of the museum. Eliad, thank you very much for joining us. And if you could, just tell us a little bit about the museum.
Yes, what you see, all the works you see in this museum are examples of spiritual resistance. Artists who during the Holocaust, under the most difficult conditions, created art in spite of everything. We also have artworks that were done by artists who were murdered during the Holocaust, and only the artworks survived.
Wow.
And through the artworks, we are telling their stories.
Wow, that is very, very powerful. Is there one artist in particular you'd like to highlight for us today?
Oh yes, the one just in front of us, the painting, by Felix Nussbaum. It depicts the synagogue in Saint-Cyprien. It's a camp in the south of France. It's a camp where the artist was interned, and he managed to escape. He went back to Belgium, where he was before, and he went into hiding. And while in hiding, he painted this artwork depicting Jewish people clinging on to their faith in spite of the dreadful conditions of the camp.
So what happened to Felix in the end?
Felix Nussbaum was denounced, and he and his wife, Felka Platek, they were taken on the last transport from Mechelen to Auschwitz, where both were murdered.
Oh, that is tragic.
Absolutely, but he left a huge body of paintings, and through these paintings, we are telling his stories and that of the Jewish people.
Amazing, amazing what you do here. Thank you very much for your work, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Would you mind if we walk around a little bit?
Please do so.
All right, thank you
You
so
are
much.
my guest.
While walking through the museum here, I came across this incredible exhibit of paintings that you see behind me. Each one was inspired by a passage found in the Hebrew Bible. It was given as a gift by Carol Deutsch to his 2-year-old daughter in 1942. Unfortunately, Carol Deutsch and his wife were captured by the Nazis and murdered in concentration camps. The daughter survived along with these incredible paintings. These and many more can be seen when you visit Yad Vashem, and make a point of it to come to the art museum as well.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
Another great place to visit while here in Jerusalem is the Biblical Zoo located just outside the Jerusalem Forest. It was founded in 1940, 8 years before the creation of the state. Its founder was Aharon Shulav, who was a professor of zoology at the Hebrew University on Mount Scopus. By 1950, the people in the area of Rav Kook Street in downtown Jerusalem began to complain about the smell and noises of the zoo. So it moved to an area known as Romema, just outside the central bus station, and it remained there until 1991. Its focus was primarily on animals mentioned in the Bible. By this time, it had nearly all 130 animals mentioned in the Bible. In 1991, it moved to its current location. One of the unique things about this zoo is that you don't have the typical cages in which the zoo animals will live in. Rather, the zoo has a series of bridges, like the one I'm standing on right now, overlooking the wild animals. And here you can see they have giraffes, zebras, rhinos, all living together just like they would in the wild. Another unique aspect of the zoo here in Jerusalem is that much of the food that is fed to the animals has been donated to the zoo. You see, in temple times, farmers used to tithe their produce and donate it to the priestly families who are in charge of running the services in the temple itself. Since the temple has been destroyed, people still tithe their produce, but generally they will discard that tithing. However, today, in conjunction with the religious council here in Israel, it's donated to the zoo, and over a ton of the freshest produce is donated every single day to feed the animals here. And as far as the carnivorous animals located here in the zoo, so their meat is donated by kosher butcheries, veterinarians, as well as fishermen. There are many ways to enjoy the zoo. You can either walk around the premises, or you can also take a train that will lead you from station to station. There's also an incredible staff that's here to educate visitors in Hebrew, Arabic, and English. There's an auditorium in an ark shaped like Noah's that has a multimedia presentation. And in addition, there are several interactive activities such as the petting zoo or the aviary that I'm in right now that you can actually feed some of the birds. Let's go feed one of them now. Come here, birdie. Here you go, buddy. Inside Noah's Ark here at the Biblical Zoo, they have a fantastic multimedia presentation. And in addition, they also have an exhibit about one of the projects here where they are raising some vultures which have almost become extinct here in Israel.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
Also located here at the Biblical Zoo is the New Jerusalem Aquarium with thousands of fish from over 80 species. The largest tank inside holds over 400,000 gallons of water, and another tank is 23 meters, 70 feet long. Let's now go inside and meet a representative of the Biblical Zoo and the New Jerusalem Aquarium. We're joined by Sigalit Hertz, who is a director and biologist here at the Biblical Zoo in Jerusalem. Sigalit, thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome.
So tell us a little bit more about the zoo itself.
Okay, the zoo is a very special place in the middle of Jerusalem that deals mainly with biblical animals. You can see animals who are mentioned in the Bible, like the Asian lion and the leopard who used to be here, and the cheetahs, of course, and the Syrian brown bear, and so on. We also deal with reintroduction back into nature of local animals that we can still breed and reintroduce back into nature, so we will be able to see them around as they are in the Bible.
Wow, that's amazing, because I always emphasize to the visitors who I'm guiding here in the land that we actually get to open up the Bible and see the ruins of the cities and fortresses that were built here 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and now, from what you're telling me, is we'll actually be able to see the animals in addition to all the ruins.
It's true, like the Bible is also a story of nature, the nature that used to be here in Israel, in the different habitats, and you can see which are the animals who lived here. For example, the fallow deer that we release into nature is mentioned on King Solomon's table, like to show how King Solomon was so rich. He had the fallow deer as a meal, which means that they had a lot of fallow deers around. And then at the beginning of the 20th century, they were all lost from nature, and now we do many efforts in order to release them again here.
Amazing. So we're here in the new aquarium, part of the Biblical Zoo. Tell us a little bit about what the visitor can expect when they visit.
Well, the aquarium is really special. You know, first of all, it's inland. You go in between the Jerusalem hills, and then you find a beautiful building, and you have an aquarium with a story. Actually, we wanted to show the seas of Israel. So you have the first gallery is the gallery of the four seas, the Sea of Galilee, the Mediterranean, the Dead Sea, and the Red Sea. And then after you see all the special fish that live there, you go into the deep sea. You step through the galleries until you reach a tunnel and the beautiful huge tank which shows sharks of the Mediterranean, and you can sit there and relax and watch the huge sharks and also see them grow, because the sharks we bring here are a bit smaller and they will still grow and be even more fascinating. And then you can see the Red Sea, the beautiful Red Sea with the beautiful colorful corals and very, very special fish that you have over there. Also with some sharks like the black tip shark, for example, which is local also in the Red Sea. And then you go out of the Red Sea, you go through the Suez Canal, you learn a bit about the Suez Canal, and you go out where a place where you learn all about the sea and the things you can still do to protect and to conserve the sea.
Amazing. So it seems though, if somebody wants to learn about the ecology of Israel, the Biblical Zoo is a great place to do it.
I agree.
Can you take me for a quick tour of the aquarium?
Of course, let's go.
All right, after you. Wow, this is incredible. They have these aquariums that you can just rise up in the middle, and all around you is coral reef from the Red Sea and tropical fish. It's like you're scuba diving. This is so neat. Wow. Join us next time on Land of the Bible as we discover a period of time known as the British Mandate, which began in 1917 after they conquered this area from the Turkish all the way to Israel's independence in 1948. We have discovered so much today by exploring some of the iconic museums in Israel's capital city, Jerusalem. Thank you for watching Land of the Bible. Remember, I'm David Sussman, your personal tour guide here in the land of Israel. And make sure to join us next time as we connect you to the people, places, and land of the Bible.